This video is about my NA6 Miata ITB conversion. I'll show you everything that I did. Keep in mind that this video isn't about what you should do. It's about what I did and it worked for me. To start off the ITB conversion, you'll need a set of 4 AGE tuner valve individual throttle body. I'll be using the silver top throttles, which are 43mm in diameter. This is a ITB intake manifold from Dan ST Engineering. This was their first prototype that I purchased. It comes with a fuel rail, and you choose whichever size you want depending on the throttles that you want to use. I chose the one for the silver top throttle body. And then as you can see here, you'll notice that there are two fuel rail support rod or extensions. This was only on their first prototype. This is what holds the or secure the fuel rail in place. And as you can see in this picture, this is their second prototype. It no longer uses the two fuel rail support rods. As you can see in this picture, it's integrated onto the intake manifold, which is nice. Less parts to deal with. And then here is the fuel rail that comes with the intake manifold. You'll when you're ordering it, you can choose between AM fittings or barb fittings. I chose barb fittings. If you use the Dan ST fuel rail, you'll need some additional parts to plumb your fuel system. You'll need a fuel pressure regulator, a fuel pressure gauge, some AN fittings for the fuel pressure regulator. And I was thinking of using an inline fuel pressure gauge connector for my fuel gauge. But I wanted simplicity, so then I decided I'm going to use my the factory fuel rail instead, which I'll get into that later. You'll also need a Toyota throttle position sensor, connector, and 3 wires. The wires, part number, will be listed below on the screen. And a GM air temperature sensor. And then you'll need a vacuum block. You can pick whichever you feel works best for you. You'll need a wideband. I decided to go with Innovate LC2. And then most importantly, a standalone ECU. I'll be using a Megasquirt PNP2. Here it is, the intake manifold and the ITB mounted together. I'm just carefully inspecting everything, making sure that everything lines up. And so far, looks like everything lines up just fine. And then the ITB add wide open throttle looks good. And here's a couple more pictures of the throttles at wide open throttle. Just making sure that there are no snags. And here it is how the ITB looks like with the 4AG tuna valve throttle linkage. I believe this is the Zinke or the post model of the silver top with the dual linkage throttle. I will not be using this. I'll be using the Better Garage RS throttle wheel instead. And here are a couple of pictures off of Better Garage RS website. This is the downpool version. Alright, so this is what you will need to get. You can see this piece right here. It's a relocator. You can get it from Battle Garage RS. There it is. That way you can open full throttle. Okay. All it really is you just install it right here. Just remove the nut and put it in there and bolt it back in. Real simple. It will come with this. This was too small, so I had to enlarge it a little bit so that the Miata cable will fit into it. Alright, so now I am going to remove the intake. I'm not going to show you how to remove it. I mean, it's not that hard to remove the intake. I'll remove it and then put the ITB in and go from there. Alright, as you can see, the intake manifold is off, and now I will install the ITB. Okay, the intake manifold with the throttle body is in. And I feel like I need to show you how to install that part, and it's pretty straightforward. You're not going to run into any sort of snag. It's pretty simple. Now I'm just going to install the fuel rail extension rod. That's what keeps it in place. I'll show you how they look like. There it is right there. These are the extension rod. Right there it is. It's installed. Let me just screws right into the intake manifold. As you can see, here's the screw. It's just a long stud goes into there, and then the sleeve here, they just go right over it, and then install the fuel injector, and then the fuel rail goes right there. Now I am going to show you what I did to the factory fuel rail. First, knock off the two mounting tabs and relocate it on the bottom of the fuel rail, matching up with the fuel rail extension rods. Then I had my friend welded for me. And then cut off the holder, straighten out this line. And since you have the injectors out, you might as well put on new injector O-rings. And these are the lower injector O-rings that came with the intake manifold. I don't like how it sits in the manifold, so I decided to use this injector O-ring kit. You can get this at your local auto parts store. The part number will be on the package you see here on the picture. There are a total of 8. I use all of it. I stack 2 O-rings per injector port. And I'll be retaining this throttle dashpot stopper. If you don't want to use it, just toss it. The dashpot stopper uses vacuum, so I just tee this into vacuum port 1 throttle body. Finally, the fuel rail is installed. And here are some pictures from different angles so that you can see how it looks like. And then in this last picture, it shows how it's mounted onto the manifold. And then I went ahead and plumbed all my vacuum lines from the throttle body to the vacuum block, brake booster, map, fuel pressure regulator. And here's where I mounted the air temperature sensor, just right between throttle 2 and 3. And this one here, there are no polarity, so plug the wires into the AFM connector as shown here. Then here's a picture of the NA6 throttle position switch connector. This is on the harness side. And here is how I wired up from the 4AGE 200 valve TPS to the NA6 TPS connector as shown in this picture. And here are a couple of pictures showing the 4AG 200 valve TPS all wired up onto my NA6 Miata. And if you're using Megasquirt PMP2, keep in mind that the NA6 Miata don't use a variable TPS. So you have to open up the Megasquirt standalone. And behind it, you'll notice that there are a couple of caps taped behind it. Take one of the cap and bridge it to the variable TPS sucker in red here as shown in this picture. And now that we're done with that, here's how I ran my PCV. The PCV valve in this picture, it is gutted, so there's nothing in the PCV valve. Alright, just showing you how I did my throttle cable. This is a NB Miata throttle cable. It is about 1.25 inches shorter compared to the NA. You can buy this from Battle Garage RS. When you receive it, you need to shave the material off in order for this cable to fit in. It's very small, so just shave off some material inside and then this will fit right in just fine. It's quite simple to install this. Just remove this nut right here, insert the wheel in place, and just put the nut back, and you will not be using the lock washer that's on there, okay? Alright, so once you measure how much you need to cut off, I want to say maybe I cut off about 1/2 inch. So I cut off, say, about right here. Okay, you're going to cut right there. And you're going to need to get something like this. It's a doorman cable stopper. Okay, you're going to need to drill this, make this bigger so that
the cable will fit through this hole throughout the other end. You see there's, so once you cut this, slide this through the stopper, you need to get some headless Allen screw. Okay, here's a short one and here's a longer one. Here's a short one, part number, get it from boatdepot.com. Here's the other one, slightly longer, same place. Once you get this cable through the stopper, put like some red Loctite on this, screw this through this end here, the longer one, Loctite on there, screw it in through here as tight as you can. Once you do that, it'll look something like this again. Then that's when you slide it through that throttle wheel. You're good.
Here are some pictures of how the cable looked like. Just cut off the remaining end cable that is sticking out of the throttle stopper. And then here's another shot of the throttle cable. And in this part, you have to make some fine adjustments to your throttle cable. First off, you'll need to loosen up the bolt at the gas pedal. And here on forward, just take your time adjusting the throttle cable and making sure that you're getting a proper wide open throttle. Here are some more pictures of me trying to adjust the cable. Once I'm finished adjusting the cable, I cap off the coolant bypass hose that used to route to the air valve mounted onto the intake manifold. Finally, everything is installed, wired up, and we're ready for the next part. So before doing my ITB setup, I had already installed my Megasquirt ECU. I uploaded the base map to the car, and I made sure that the car started up with the base map. Before I did any of that, that's what I did. Once the car started up with the base map, and that's when I started on my ITB conversion. Well, this video is getting too long and I'm going to end it here. But before I do, I just want to say that this video is about me using the 4AGE 20 valve throttle body setup before I switch over to using the Suzuki GSXR750 ITB. I wanted to experience both setup and to see which one I like the most. You can find my other ITB videos on the GSXR750 ITB in my channel. And I'm just making this video for some people out there who is interested in putting ITB into their NA6 Miata for the first time and might need some information. This video isn't about what you need to do, but it shows what I did and it worked for me. Some people may do it differently, but take this video as a grain of salt. Well, thank you for watching, and look out for the second part of this video on what I did to set up my Megasquirt to start up the ITB. Thank you for watching.